Well, hello, this is Eric Reynolds, and yes, I am your co-host, and I'm here as always with Dan the Man Locke, the host of the Shoulders of Titans show. Welcome to the Shoulders of Titans, the world's #1 business podcast for entrepreneurs and high achievers. And today our special guest is Moran Pober, a specialist in business acquisitions and turnarounds, a business mentor and a consultant who works with business owners looking to grow or sell their business. Today, Moran will be talking about his start in business developing apps and how that led him to meet his mentor, Dan Pena. He talks about the misconceptions about starting a business and what it takes to make it successful versus the other option most people don't consider, which is buying an existing business and making it profitable. He talks about the deal structure when negotiating to buy a business and using the leverage of business cash flow or assets to borrow money from the bank. He shares what criteria he looks for when acquiring a business deal and which countries are his target markets. And lastly, Moran shares his vision for the future and words of advice to have a big goal of money and success. While that's important, always remember, just try to enjoy your journey as well. Now, before Moran joins us, just as a reminder that if you do have any questions or require assistance, you can reach Moran at www.moranpober.com or also at www.abdassets.com. Now, Moran Pober is a former Israeli Defense Forces soldier. Today, he is the founder of ABD Assets, and he has extensive dealings with many entrepreneurial projects. He founded iTips, a top 100 app in 100 stores around the world and in the App Store, including the US, Canada, and in the UK. He has carried out extensive consulting assignments with many companies and projects in the e-commerce and SaaS, or software as a service world. He's now on the hunt for acquisitions of companies he can help turn around, merge, or help grow towards an exit strategy or initial public offering, or IPO. And now, here's Dan Locke.
Welcome to another episode of Shoulders of Titans. This is Dan Locke. Today I have the privilege of bringing you another entrepreneur, a very interesting entrepreneur in the acquisition, merger and acquisition, also a turnaround specialist. We also share a mutual mentor, Dan Pena, the $50 billion man. So I think this would be a fascinating interview and it's going to be a very interesting conversation. Moran, welcome to the show.
Hey, Dan. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And it's nice to connect. Maybe just for our audience, tell us a little bit about your background and how did you get into what you do today?
Yeah, so I started in business almost more than 10 years ago now. I started a few businesses from scratch. And one day I realized that I just don't like to do the day-to-day stuff in a business. And it's funny, I had someone came to me and offered to buy my business. And few things happened since. First of all, I realized that the best time to sell a business is now, no matter what, just sell it, because I had a bad experience with my business, which I can expand on. But then I just realized that I want to do something else. I want to, and that really happened by watching TV shows like Shark Tank and The Profit, which you probably heard about, or Dragon's Den in Canada.
Yes.
And I just realized, hey, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. I want to sit. I want to invest in businesses. I want to buy businesses. I want to own businesses, and I don't want to manage businesses. And that's what led me to the world of investing, of buying businesses, of acquisitions, which led me to meet Dan Pena, our mutual mentor, and many other great mentors who I've since met. And that's kind of like my life. That's my focus at the moment. I'm just out there looking to buy businesses, and it's the first time in my life that I can see myself do that literally for the rest of my life, just because I'm having so much fun from that.
Interesting. And Dan, I call him Big Dan usually. Mr. Pena actually was the first guest for the Shoulders of Titans show. And I interviewed him probably, it's got to be more than 10 years ago. And then it's 10 years later. That back then was cassette tape. I actually had it on cassette tape.
Yeah, I heard the interview. Actually.
Yeah, I was much younger, and it's interesting. Kind of we connect with Dan and see what he's doing. Maybe share with us just for our, because I know a lot of listeners they are familiar with Mr. Pena. What inspired you to go to the castle, and what's been that experience like, and what are some of the things that you've learned?
Yeah, so and I'll tell you that I paid a small fortune to learn from different people over the last few years. But yes. First of all, there's no one out there who's teaching anything who's living in a castle.
Yes.
Right? So that's a good first impression.
Yes.
And I just like the fact that Dan is so raw. You can see from like he's opening his mouth, and you can just feel the integrity, the honesty, the transparency, and it was really important to me, to be honest, just to get that feeling. And secondly, the fact that, I mean, he got a track record. I mean, he used to be a CEO of a public company, and he's the first one who's talking about like really big things. Like for me, I heard about him pretty long time ago, and it's the first time that I heard about things like acquisitions and buying companies and growing, literally by the fact that you can grow by years worth of sales literally in an afternoon just by buying another company. And it's really opened my eyes, and yeah, I was thinking, like, worst case, I'll just have a cool experience in the castle, and I mean, it really opened my eyes, and it changed a lot for me, and I'm really grateful for him.
And when you went to the castle, was it did it meet expectation? Was it what you expected? Was it more than what you expected? What was that like?
That's a good question. I mean, obviously, in the end of the day, I got more than I wanted, like more than I expected. That's 100%. I mean, just the fact that I got access to Dan 1 year later as well. So we have, like weekly reports and monthly calls, and Dan is there literally as your accountability partner, literally. I mean, and Dan is talking about it. All his content is pretty much out there, but the fact that you got him as your coach, as your mentor, as someone who's just telling you, hey, just shut. I don't know if I can curse in the show, but someone basically just tell you, hey, just shut up, go do what you know you got to do, and believe in yourself, and understand that it's possible, and just go and do it. I mean, he's always talking about the fact that you just gotta pull the trigger, and it's so true. I mean, so many people out there are just reading books and listening to podcasts. I mean, there's a place for that as well. But people out there, and Dan is talking about it so many times. I heard him saying that people are just afraid to pull the trigger. They're seeing it as an excuse, as they think that they grow by reading another book, by watching another podcast, by listening to another video. I mean, yes, you grow, but after you watch those things or you learn those things, you need to go and pull the trigger. You got to take action. Otherwise, like, you're not gonna get more money in your bank account just by reading the book. You got to implement what you read in the book.
Well said. Because as you know, I have all of Dan's materials on my site, and he gave me permission a couple of years ago. All the stuff is all free, right? All the QLA stuff, and because of that, I get a lot of people either asking me, well, should I go to the castle, or after the castle. I get a lot of emails of what that is like. But what I also notice that people, when they see someone who is not just a track record, but such a strong role model, and also very alpha, right? And I think a lot of young people, they may be attracted to that. But after the castle experience, only a small percentage take action, right? And it's just like anything, 80-20. And now with you, after the castle experience, what did you start doing? Did you come back and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to put together my board immediately? Or did you wait a couple of months? What did you do?
I was in a really funny situation, and actually I think I was lucky by the fact that one of my businesses literally got destroyed. I'm happy to expand on that, but basically, if you want, so I had a really successful app company. I had an app that became in the top 100 in more than 100 countries. It made really, really good money. Like, I was ranking in the App Store next to like really famous apps like Kindle and all that stuff.
Wow.
Like, I mean, and one day Apple came and basically said to me, hey, you can't upload a new version, because Apple came out with their own version of the app. I used to have a few apps, but my most successful ones was tips for iPhone. We basically just gave some tips on how to use the iPhone, and tons of people download that. Like, we had the free version and paid version, and it made really good money. And now, if you have an iPhone, Apple got their own version on tips on how to use their iPhone. And I basically was at the point, I'm like, okay, that business is probably gone. What's next? And that's led me to the castle. And after the castle, I was like, okay, that's my thing. I love it. That's me full time, 100%. So after the castle. I mean, obviously, it took me some time to understand, and it's funny. Some of the things that took me a few months, then now I'm just like, that's a joke, you know. Things like putting a board together and putting like finding a chairman and finding a CFO and finding your accountants and lawyers. Now I look at it, I'm like, come on, guys, just do that. Seriously, that's just the beginning. And Dan is saying that as well. I mean, yes, getting a board is great, getting your accountants and lawyers is great, but you got to work. Like the real work is about finding the deal and making sure that you got financing for those deals. So that's where you eventually want to put most of your work. But I agree. I mean, most people, they don't even take the first action, which is going out there and look for their board or look for their accountants and lawyers. And for me, I mean, it took me time, but I'm all in. I was all in, and now I'm all in. I'm still all in. Like that's all I do. That's all I focus on. Just out there talking. Like literally, I have sometimes 15 calls a day with business owners, different business owners, or different financiers or banks. To figure out what kind of financing we can get to those deals. And yeah, so I'm all in after the castle. That's all I focus on. That's all I do. That's all I care about. I don't look anywhere else.
That's very interesting. Now, since we're talking about acquisitions, and for a lot of my listeners, they're entrepreneurs, and most people, when they think of business, I think almost everybody's thinking about, okay, I should start a business. I want to start a business. And what's your take? Because I'm curious to know, because you started different companies and even like the app and successful company. From that starting versus buying, what has shifted for you over the years?
Yeah, and it's funny, even the app company, I mean, officially I didn't really start it from scratch, because I actually bought, and it's before I even knew about the word of acquisitions, because I basically got out there and bought a code, an existing app from someone who just didn't have a successful app, and I basically turned around that app. But I didn't even know about the word of acquisitions or buying businesses. I just took the app, I hired developers and designers and marketers, and we just took it from nowhere to where it got to be. So that definitely opened my eyes. But sorry, I definitely, I'm with you 100%. All the books are out there, like 95% of the books out there.
Probably 99%.
99, yeah. I didn't want to stretch it, right? But yeah, like everyone is talking about starting a business, about building the next Snapchat or the next Facebook or the next WhatsApp or whatever, right? The next $1 billion idea. I mean, there's nothing wrong about it, but people just don't understand the stats. They go out there and they think that, yeah, okay, I'm going to start a business and everyone is going to be successful. And I mean, you do need that certainty and that mindset. But I mean, just look at the stats out there. I don't know the exact stats, but I know that at least 90% of businesses fail in the first 5 or 10 years of starting the business. And it's just frustrating because people put all of their time, all of their money. I'll tell you even more than that. I'm working with pretty big accounting and law firms, and they tell me that for them, so they work with tons of startups, and for them, they work on success fees with tons of startups. And if they get to a point where those startups pay them any fees, they're like, oh my God, that startup is successful. Like even if they just raise some capital.
Even just pay something is considered successful.
Literally.
Okay, wow.
It's ridiculous. And I see people who wasting so much time, so all of their money, all of their savings, and sometimes their family's savings. And don't get me wrong, if that's your dream and you want to do it, go and do that. But many people just don't know there's another option, which is to go out there and buy an existing business. And many times you can buy a business that's already existing for 5 or 10, or sometimes I'm talking to businesses right now who are existing for 20 or sometimes even 30 years. And those businesses are really, really stable. Maybe they're not growing as fast as Facebook or WhatsApp, but they're making really good money. And you can many times buy those businesses with none or very little of your own money. And you can make money from day one of owning that business because it's already profitable, it's already making money. And it's just frustrating, you know. I see so many people out there who are just like, yeah, I'm gonna start this or I'm gonna start that, and they're just throwing sometimes years hard work. And again, I'm not against that. I think if that's your dream, and you have, especially if you have a very special idea, I think that's actually that's something good. I mean, we need people like that in the world, who will come up with creative new ideas. But many times, many people getting into business just because they want the lifestyle and they want the income. And if that's what you're looking for in business, I just think there are better ways, like buying businesses and growing by acquisitions.
I couldn't agree more, because a lot of people sometimes they come to me and say, "Oh, Dan, what advice do you have like for starting a business?" I said, "Oh, just don't start one." I mean, either you buy one, or in my case, you partner up in one, or you invest in one. All these options out there. Like you said, 95% of them are going to be dead in 5 or 10 years. It's just like if you go to the casino, knowing, what, I'm going to bet my money on this hand, knowing 9 out of 10 you're going to lose.
Wow, exactly.
Right? And
exactly.
But it's like, no, I'm going to, versus a great metaphor that I've heard from Keith Cunningham, who's also teaches how to buy business. I went to his training and last year.
I heard about him. He's awesome. Yeah.
The metaphor that he used, like Keith used, I love, because you guys can also go back to the episode I interviewed Keith. But Keith was saying basically about this. Imagine you have to fly somewhere. Imagine you get to the airport and the people at the airport are saying, "You know what? You see all those mechanics, all those parts out there on the field, the engine and everything, the wings. Let's put all that together, and you put in the field, and you be the pilot, and hopefully you will get to your destination." That's starting a business. Because you're starting from scratch. You don't know anything about the industry. Maybe you do. You don't know the mechanics. You have no skills. You don't know how to fly. But let's put that shit together, and hopefully you get there. And that's how you die, right?
So true.
Versus, if you're buying a business, imagine here's a plane. It's a working plane. And you're almost like it's been going there to halfway, 2/3 of the way. You have a pilot, which is your existing business owner. You are the co-pilot on the side. And you are like, you know what? Show me the ropes. Show me how you're running the business, right? And then you're slowly ticking over to be the main pilot, and the existing owner will be the co-pilot. The chances of you getting the destination is much higher. So I love that metaphor. Always remember,
I love it.
Right? It's very, very true. Now, people might be hearing this. They may be, "Hey, man, what do you mean? Like, I don't have the money. That's why I want to start a business. I want to provide for my family. How can you buy a business with no money?"
Yeah, and I'll just end. I really loved your metaphor, by the way. You keep metaphor. I mean, it's awesome. I'll just end and say, I have friends who are angel investors and they're venture capital partners, and they know in advance that they're going to invest in at least 9-10 businesses. They know in advance, like you said, that 9 out of 10 or so businesses are going to fail. But for them as investors, it's still okay, because one of those deals is going to make so much money that it's going to cover all of those other 9. But what I'm saying is, why would you want to be that basically that person who's fighting on that 10th percent, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, but I'm with you 100%. I really, really love the metaphor you just talked about. But yeah, you're talking about money. How do we finance those deals? Mm-hmm. It's yeah, I want to say it's simple. It's not easy, right? But it's very similar to real estate. So if your listeners are familiar with doing real estate deals, it's basically to put it simply, it's a combination of debt and equity. But basically, you go out to businesses, and we basically, as soon as we talk to a business, we talk to the owner and tell them, hey, I'm potentially looking to buy your business. We sign in an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, to make sure that he's comfortable sharing that information. And as soon as we get all of his financials, which it's like basic information about business, P&L, balance sheet, all that stuff. As soon as we have that, we know how much assets we got on that business that we could potentially leverage. So basically, if we're going to look for potentially a marketing business, they have accounts receivables, they have potentially some inventory, some cash in the bank. Those are all of those assets that the business got. What we can then do is go to a bank and tell them, hey, bank, or whatever financier we're talking with, is we basically tell the bank, hey bank, we got that business that we potentially look to buy. Here are all the assets that business got, and we're asking you how much money can you give us if we're going to buy that business. And all the big banks, they got acquisitions department, and they're looking for deals. So they'll tell you, and usually I can get into details if you want, but basically we could get around 80% of receivables, we could get around 40-50% of inventory. And obviously there's cash in the bank. If we got real estate that we buy with the deal, so many times we buy a business and that business own a real estate where there are offices and stuff like that. So if we got real estate on the balance sheet, we can leverage at least 80% of that as well. So imagine we go to bank, we tell them, hey, we got that business, here are his assets, how much money we can get. The bank will tell us how much money we can get, and that's the money we can pay the business. And then it's a matter of negotiation, right, of how much we need to pay for that business. And I don't know if you want to get into too much details, but basically we usually value business. There's a few ways to value a business, but the simple way is just a multiples of EBITDA, of the business pre-tax profit. So then we just start a negotiation with the business. We know already in advance that amount we can raise from financiers or from banks, and then we go to the business and we tell them, hey, let's start negotiation. How much do you want for the business? And then Dan's talking about it a lot. Dan Spanier talking about it a lot. The overall valuation is important, but the terms are more important. Yeah.
Okay, all right, we are back. That wasn't a commercial break. It was actually a technical glitch. Now, Moran, you're just sharing with us something exciting. You were talking about don't just look at the price of the business, but also look at the terms.
Yeah, 100%. So, basically, I need to get to the groove of it after the break, but I got into the momentum. But basically, you get to a deal and you negotiate a price, and you already know in advance from your banks or financiers how much money you have to invest in that deal, and that money that you know you have to invest from your banks is the money that you could pay at closing. So basically, as soon as you close the deal, that's the money that you can transfer for that deal. The rest of it, you got to negotiate that it will be deferred or structured over a few years. And there are many terms that you can negotiate there as well. You can negotiate an earn-out. And an earn-out basically means that you only pay if the business reaches some kind of a milestone. You can do it similar deals to real estate, like do it as a seller note with an interest. So in the end of the day, you got to know how much money you have to invest in the deal, and that's the money you could pay at closing. And the rest of it, if you don't have more money, you got to structure that deal over a few years. Or if you want, you could put your own money into that deal as well and pay that as part of the closing payment. So that's kind of like a simple or a common deal structure that you do when you look to buy a business. You basically pay something at closing and you pay the rest anywhere between 1 to sometimes even 7 or so years.
So basically what we're saying, so let me just clarify a bit. So we are leveraging the business cash flow or assets to borrow money from the bank, or perhaps if necessary, sometimes we might put in our own money, or we might bring on another investor or third-party lending to buy the business. So in the acquisition world, this is called a leveraged buyout. So that our listener can follow what we're saying. Now, we're not saying that, hey, you know what, if you've got like zero business experience, you don't know anything about business, and you go leverage millions of dollars and buying a business, we're not saying do that. We're just saying that, hey, you know what, for guys who have some business experience, and if you know how to run a business and you have certain skills, this is a good way for you to kind of get into it with kind of reducing the risk, right?
Yeah. Exactly, and like you said before, if you don't have that experience, find someone with experience who could be your partner. And even if you have a small percentage of a deal. I mean, you could buy really big businesses that way. And even if you have a partner who's going to take most of the deal from you, go and do that. Gain experience that way by just being around someone who's actually doing that. I think that's a great way as well.
Well, which in your case, we're talking about putting a board together. Maybe you're chairman, maybe a young guy. You have less experience, but that's okay because at least you get your first couple of deals done, and then you get a deal flow. You kind of just get your foot in the door, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. And I'll tell you even more than that. If you don't have the confidence to even do that, to go and build a board and all that, many people will pay you equity in deals or some kind of, you could say, referral fee just for helping them find the deal. And you don't need to be a brain surgeon for that. You just go and talk to businesses and look for businesses who are looking to sell. And many people, like I know I'm personally happy to pay someone equity in deals if they're finding me good deals. Like, why not? And at the same time, they could watch me do everything and learn the process that way and gain certainty for their future deals.
Very smart. What about like for someone listening to this and they're saying, okay, so I'm looking for where do you find these deals? Like, do I look on the internet? Do I talk to people, or do I knock on doors? Like, where do you find these deals?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, in the end of the day, it's very similar to a marketing process. So any business out there, whenever they have a product, they're trying to sell the product, so they're doing marketing campaigns and stuff like that. And the same goes here. The difference is that we market ourselves as buyers, and there are tons of ways. There are like 20 plus ways we're using daily to look for different businesses, anywhere from social media to different online campaigns to direct marketing and letters and JVs, joint ventures and partners. So anything you could think about that is related to marketing would work here as well. Doing funnels, all that stuff.
And also, I want to emphasize one thing. You might be thinking that, oh my God, it's so difficult to find deals. It's actually the opposite, because with what's going on with the baby boomers, a lot of them are looking to sell.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of especially in the States, right? There are a lot of motivated sellers in the marketplace. And then think of for yourself. If you've been running a business for 20, 25, 30 years, you're getting old, you want to exit, when was the last time someone knocks on your door and says, hey, I want to buy your business? This doesn't happen very often. They're happy to hear from you, okay? At least some guy's knocking on my door, right? Because most businesses never get sold. So you have a lot of power as a buyer, because if this doesn't work or the price doesn't work, the term doesn't work, you can go to the next business. There's so many of them to choose from. So as a buyer, you actually you're at a huge advantage.
So true. So what you said just now, it's so true. And I can give you an example. I'm negotiating a deal in the UK right now. And it's literally what you said now to the T, like exactly what you just said. So basically, it's an owner who's running the business for more than 20 years. Now, the situation there, the owner really care about his employees, the brand that he's built. It's literally his baby, right? I mean, everything, all his life is there. And at the same time, he really wants to retire. So he's looking for someone he could trust to literally hand over the business. So I'll tell you that I still didn't close the deal, but cross fingers, like there's a good chance that I'm buying that business just by paying the owner the cash that's already in the business, which means I don't even need to use banks. I don't need to bring money from home, nothing. Now, I'm not saying that that's a common deal, but the situation there is in the UK, you have what you call an entrepreneur relief. So basically, if he's going to sell the business to me, he's going to be able to take that money out for just 10% taxes, versus if he's going to take that money as dividends, he's going to pay around 40%.
Correct.
So just by doing that, it's going to tell just, hey, first of all, there's someone who's going to take care of the employees if he's going to buy it from me. Secondly, I'm going to get much more money other than just taking the money out and closing the business. And I'm going to be the hero because I'm not going to shut down the business. I'm going to have someone who's going to take care of the business, who's going to basically grow the business. and I'll just take my money. I could retire comfortably and just do that. And what you said is so true. I mean, there's so many baby boomers out there. People are looking to retire, and they're just looking for the safe pair of hands to take over their business from them. And many times they care less about money and they care more about the person who's buying them.
Exactly. Because usually, think about it, if they have a decent business, they've been running it 20, 25, 30 years, chances are they've accumulated quite a bit of money themselves, right? So, and the last, like you said, they care about the employees. Are you going to fire all my people? Are you going to ruin my brand? If they feel comfortable with you. And that's why it boils down to relationship. It's not like a transactional thing. It's more, hey, you know what? You approach the seller and you develop the relationship. You find a little bit more about their business and maybe how you can add value with your skills or with your team. And that kind of conversation. Imagine just in the process, a couple months in the negotiation, you walk away. When are they going to see the next buyer?
Yeah.
Right? And the problem is with most businesses, as Big Dan talks about, when you approach them, they might say they're not going to run ads, or they're not going to put a big sign in front of the business. Hey, this is for sale.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
They don't want to, kind of rock the boat for the employees. But knowing that if you ask enough of people that you'll get some.
All right, we'll take our break here, and we'll be right back with Dan and Moran.
More of the Shoulders of Titans podcast with Dan Lok after this.
Can't get enough of Dan the Man Lok? Then check out his channel at danloktv.com.
Are you investing your passion, money, and time in building a successful business? Do you realize that unless you trademark your brand, the risk of losing this valuable asset goes up significantly as your business becomes more successful? Would you like to know if your brand is trademarkable for free and with no strings attached? At searchmymark.com, you can fill out a form, and Trademark Factory Specialist will conduct a comprehensive trademark search and answer all your questions as they walk you through your trademarkability report over the phone. Trademark Factory is the only firm in the world where licensed lawyers and trademark agents will help you register your trademarks in Canada, United States, and European Union for a single, all-inclusive flat fee with a 100% money-back guarantee. Don't squander your brand. Order your free trademark search through searchmymark.com right now.
Hi, this is Dan Lok. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt like you're just spinning your wheels in your business? Maybe you feel like you're doing everything right. At least you think you are, but those big paydays just keep eluding you. Or maybe you've hit a plateau in your growth and you get stuck in your business building efforts. Or maybe you are already experiencing incremental success, but with that a great deal of frustration because you aren't sure how to move to the next stage. Well, you're not alone. I felt frustrated and like a failure or even a fake at one point or another in my business career. I've been there and done that. And maybe I could help you. I frequently get asked to be a strategic consultant to companies. My private clients pay me up to $100,000 a year to work with me. And I understand that my high-priced fee structure has never been designed to be a cost-effective way for you to have access to my advice, knowledge, or experience until now. About a year ago, I started experimenting with consulting with entrepreneurs through a platform called Clarity. For approximately 15 minutes to 30 minutes each time in a very concentrated, no-nonsense, laser beam-focused consultation designed to produce a meaningful breakthrough in the shortest, compressed, accelerated timeline possible. Now, at first, I didn't think it would work, but the results have been amazing. I mean, entrepreneurs, they love it. I love it. I get asked brilliant questions. I ask probing questions. It's just a wonderful experience and interaction. Now, so if this sounds like something that will benefit you greatly and is something that you want, you can go to www.givedanacall.com, and that is GIVEDANACALL.com. DANACALL.com. Just give Dan a call.com and book a call today. And you see all the rave reviews on the page. And when you book a call today with me, I'm confident that I can make a positive and profoundly profitable impact. Hopefully not just on your business, but on you as well. Again, you can book a time with me at givedanacall.com. I look forward to connecting with you in person.
All right, we're back, and let's continue the interview with Dan and Moran.
How many businesses you approach before you have someone say, hey, you know what, I'm interested in selling? Like, what's the percentage?
So in the end of the day, it's really numbers game, right? I could tell you we're approaching hundreds of businesses a month, and I'd say could work by the, and I think even Robert Kiyosaki talked about it. It's like real estate deals. You should expect to approach at least 100, maybe make offers on 10, and maybe get one deal from that.
Yes.
And I'm just really throwing numbers. The numbers could really change, and it really depends where you're getting your deal from. But yeah, I'll just add and say what you just said about the owner is waiting for a buyer. I mean, sometimes when you're coming as a smaller buyer, that's actually giving you a benefit, because I heard so many horror stories about big companies buying other companies and literally destroying them. Because when a big company is buying a specific business, they don't care about the name on the door. I mean, they don't care about who built the business. They're going to change the name to their name. They're going to fire many times many of the employees and cut costs. And I'll tell you even more than that. Many times that happens during due diligence. So before they even bought the business, they already destroyed it. And many times during due diligence, they'll back off the deal, and the business is destroyed, and the owner can't do anything because they already opened all of the books. Many times, I mean, with baby boomers, they're afraid because they have a list of clients, they have a list of employees, and I heard many horror stories about companies coming to businesses and basically telling them, "Hey, we're looking to buy you," and they're literally stealing employees, stealing customers, and they're telling the owner, "Hey, sorry, we don't want to do a deal." So when you're coming as a smaller buyer, as someone who's just like, "Hey, I'm just me and some other guys who are looking to buy good businesses," it's actually many times a benefit if that's the seller you're talking to, who like you said, that's his baby, that's something he worked for years. So yeah, that's a really crucial point to emphasize here.
Yeah, and one thing I learned from Keith Cunningham, he was talking, because Keith only at the same time, he only buys businesses, and one big lesson I learned from him, he said, think of you going in there, you're like, think of yourself as the son or the daughter they never had.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, you go in there, you talk with them, you learn, and you respect their opinion, and like all these things, and it's not like a hostile takeover. It's just like, that's why the flight analogy, you're like a co-pilot. It's like a buyer, seller, mentor, mentee relationship, because you want the seller to kind of stay on board a bit, to kind of teach you the ropes, and they love it. Very often they just love, because keep in mind, if they're selling the business, chances are because they cannot leave it to their kids. The kids could be spoiled, or they are not interested in the business, or whatever, right? And now you come in and you're like imagine you're the older guy, young guy comes in, you're eager, you're ambitious, you're ready to learn, you want to take over, you want to make sure you do good, you want to grow the company, all these things. Oh my God, thank you, right? Finally, someone shows up. Just solve a big problem for me, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you even more. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, it's funny, even just this word of buying businesses, you can learn so much about business. I'm just telling you, I think I heard it from one of my mentors. I forgot who said it, but he basically said that even if you're not looking to buy a business, just put yourself out there for even a while as someone who's looking to buy a business, because you're going to learn so much about business just by going out there and putting yourself as a potential buyer. Because just think about it. There's no one in the world that the business owner is going to tell more about his business other than a potential buyer. I mean, even his wife is not going to know so much about the business like you, if you're the potential buyer. And you can learn so much about business. Like literally, you could learn more in 2 months about business just by talking to different business owners than by many times years of trying to start something from scratch.
Yeah.
Because you're just testing things that you don't even know if it's going to work or not.
Yeah. And when you are on the hunt for looking for deals, are there criteria that you're looking for, or any type of business that you like? I mean, I know Big Dan talks about telecommunication, healthcare.
Yeah.
But what about yourself?
For me, in the end of the day, it comes down to the terms of the deals, and for me, and Dan's talking about it as well, about how motivated the seller is, because I'm not a public company yet. Hopefully I will at some point, but I cannot pay premium for deals. And I'm just looking for good deals that we could pay a fair accounting valuation for them, which is usually anywhere between 3 to 5 or 6 times EBITDA. And that's what's most important for me at the moment. And the fact that I know that I could have someone to manage that business, because I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to run businesses. I want to own businesses. So it's important that we either have an existing management team in place, or that we already have someone that we can think who could run the business, or that we could hire, or maybe even someone we could promote from within who could take that role. So that's the most important. And obviously the fact that you could finance that deal, because, and I don't care how rich a person is, there's only so much you could use of your own personal capital. And the richest people out there in the world, they're growing their wealth using other people's money. So in the end of the day, it's a matter of if you can finance that deal. And if you can finance it, and you have a good deal, and you have a good management team in place, then by all means, any deal is a good deal. I mean, the sectors, so Dan's talking about telecommunication and healthcare, they're amazing. And in the end of the day, you do want a sector that there got some growth in it. But in the end of the day, many times I'm looking at businesses that's working for 20, 30 years, and they're just growing really slowly every year. So even that's okay. Even that's okay for me personally, at least.
And is there a range where you're looking for, like, between what price point to what price point that at this point you're comfortable with?
Yeah, so I'm looking for businesses doing at least above 1 million a year in sales, and that's literally just from the fact that, like I said before, we want a management team in place, and usually, and many times under 1 million a year in sales, it's many times just one man show, or the business is really dependent on the owner, and as soon as he leaves, it's just like there's no business, and so usually above 1 million, there's already a team in place, and it's more about the product and the service versus the one person, and I'm open to look at any deal, any size. I'm not looking at public companies, but if it's a private company, I'm really open to look at any deal. And after a few conversations, I'll know if I could potentially finance that or not.
Just like you said in the beginning, you're not looking to manage it. You want to have a management team in place where someone is going to manage the day-to-day. And when after you buy the company, probably you'll get involved with some of the strategies, help them grow a bit, and then look for the next deal. That's kind of the plan. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's up to the person, right? I mean, some people like to do that day-to-day, the menial stuff. Just personally, I just realized that I'm not good at management, and there are people who are just much better than me than that. For me, I'm really good at organizing people and finding who's the right person to do what. But I'm not the person who's good at managing the day-to-day. And I just realized for myself, also for the lifestyle that I want, is that I'm just an ADD. I just like to be involved in many, many things at the same time. And I think this is the perfect business for those kind of people. Even that, I know Dan is talking a lot about focus, and it's super important. But my focus right now is in doing deals. And that's all my focus, and I'm 100% focused on that. But at the same time, I got so much variety because I'm being involved in so many different. I'm looking at so many different businesses and deals and people, and I just feel it just really good for someone who's ADD or just like to be involved in.
It just doesn't get bored, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you get an excuse to travel around the world, looking at deals, talking to really interesting people. Just think about it. You talk to someone, like you said before, he owned a business for sometimes 10, 20, 30 years. I mean, those people are so passionate about their business. They could talk about, like I remember talking about this guy who's doing, I don't even know how to explain it. They got this medical testing laboratory business. And I didn't understand anything about it, but that person could talk about it forever, about the kind of test he's doing and the results he's getting. And I'm like, I mean, you're getting passionate. You feel alive just by talking to some of those people. And I just loved it. I just love talking to really interesting people and just get an excuse to also travel to different places to meet those businesses.
And you mentioned you're looking for deals in UK, you're also looking for deals in US, so it's not limited to just your own city. Like with the internet and everything now, it just could be anywhere in the world, as long as it's like a capitalist kind of a society, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, our target markets are US, UK, Canada, and Australia. But I can tell you, I looked at deals in Poland, and I looked at the deal in Spain, and I'm Israeli, so I'm looking at the deals in Israel as well. So it really doesn't matter. I'll tell you even more than that. It's funny. Even the lawyers and accountants, I mean, even they're doing most of their work virtually. So yeah, today with the internet, it's really amazing. I mean, just the fact that I can talk to you from we're both in different countries. I mean,
and then totally different time zone, by the way.
I know. I mean, it's not something we can take for granted, and it's really amazing nowadays. Yeah.
Got it. So now, what about so we talk about deal making and your plan. What's your plan for the next maybe like 4 or 5 years? Like how many companies you want to buy? Do you have a vision for yourself?
I love the question. Yeah. So I have a vision of buying at least 100 companies in the next 5 years. I know it's very, I'm basically taking Dan's penny approach.
Massive action.
Yourself, massive action, huge goals, and I'm just looking at people like Richard Branson, who's owning more than 300 companies. I'm looking at people like Marcus Lemonis, who's owning hundreds of companies. I'm not even close to their level, but I think having them as the type of I guess they're kind of, those two people are really representing my vision of the type of people I want to be eventually. So I just said, hey, let's put a goal to buy hundreds of companies and let's see how that goes.
And just like Big Dan said, right? Even you only halfway, it's still good.
Exactly. And to be honest, I realized that you do need to have those goals, but as long as you have fun in the way. I mean, I'm really enjoying my day-to-day right now, so I don't really care if it's going to be another 10 good companies or another 100. I mean, obviously, I want hundreds of companies just for the fun of it, just to say, just when someone is going to ask you, what do you do? I'd say, yeah, I own a few businesses, But I think as long as you're happy with the actual day-to-day, I mean, the goal, I think we'll get there eventually. I mean, if we go, it's going to be in 5 years or 10 or 20 or 30 years. I mean, in the end of the day, I think what really matters is enjoying the day-to-day. And I think the financial rewards, they're going to come if you're focused enough and you're going to work enough. But then, and I'm saying that just because, at least personally, I for years, I just worked so hard, and I just forgot to enjoy my path. And I think it's really important to mention it as well. Yes, money, success, that's so important, but just remember, just try to enjoy your journey as well. I think it's really important to say as well.
Awesome. And I have one question. I ask this question for all my guests, and if you could travel back to a day of your earlier days and have a 10-minute conversation with your former self to communicate any lessons that you've acquired with the intention of saving yourself the mistakes, the headaches, what would you tell your former self?
Wow, it's a really, really good one. I'd say learn as much as you can about enjoying today, because if you'll do the actions that you enjoy today, you'll be successful. So 3 things I had in mind. So one of them is that just enjoy today. Secondly is, just have a huge goal and find someone who's already achieved that, and just do whatever you can to literally learn from that person, be that person, just dress like that person if needed.
Yes. 3-piece suit.
Yeah, exactly. What else? Yeah, I think those are really important. Just learn to enjoy at the same time, find what you want to be, and just do whatever it takes to get there.
And I can for sure, I think our listener can hear your passion. You're enjoying the process. It's not so much, although when we're talking about acquisition, we're talking about making money, making a lot of money, millions of dollars. But you can see for both of us who are both like mentees of Mr. Pena, that we enjoy what we do. It's not like, oh man, like if you don't like what you do, there's no fun, right?
That's crucial, man. That's crucial. What you just said, you don't even know how important it is. Because I used to have businesses where they made so much money, and I remember waking up literally cursing. I was like, I don't care how much money I'm going to make. I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And it's so important, and things just flow so much better when you enjoy what you do.
Yeah.
And so you enjoy it, and you get success as well. And you don't even care about the money. It's just a matter of playing. Having a score.
I totally agree. And if you think about it, if there's a market, if you have, given that if your business acumen, you love what you do, obviously you will get good at what you do, then money just shows up. It's just a byproduct of just giving value, right? So I couldn't agree with more. Awesome. So for our listeners, if they want to get in touch with you, or kind of seeing your journey, and what would be the best way to find you?
I don't really have I'd say just email me personally if you want to get into this world of doing deals. Nice. And you want to maybe help me find deals and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm happy to give equity in deals or referral fees. So if you want to hear more about how that works, just email me personally at Moran, it's Moran, at abdassets.com.
Awesome. And then they can also connect you're also on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Facebook, all that stuff.
Yes, of course. Well, nowadays, just Google. But I'll put your LinkedIn profile and as well as the your email address just one more time on the page, so easy for people to find you.
Sounds good. Sounds awesome, man.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much sharing us, inspiring us with your story and your thought process. It's nice to connect, as both mentees with Mr. Pena. Yeah. So it's very nice. And thank you for being on the show.